What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a really long time since I've done one of these videos, but I don't know, I'm really excited for the new patch, and I've been meaning to try and get back on this horse and be a little more consistent about covering Final Fantasy XIV stuff, because that's what that's what I like to do. So, without further ado, we are gonna do a little overview of the new patch 4.4 trailer. I'm gonna give some of my thoughts and some of the things I noticed in the trailer that you've probably already noticed, but So what we'll do is we will watch through the trailer in full, and I'll point out some of the things I've noticed here and there. And then afterwards, we'll go back through and I'll clarify some stuff and expand on some of the things I've noticed. So, without further ado, all right, let's get started. I'll try and be light on the commentary. So that green stuff, I have something to mention about that later, but I'll save it. We got chaos, but we've known this for a little bit. No surprise. Disembodied voice, who's also important.
And we for our part are glad indeed to be able to welcome friends both old and new.
Pray, accept my heartfelt thanks for your generous invitation.
Talk is rife that Doma has summoned a primal, and the Empire's more liberal voices are being drowned out in the fearful clamor for retribution.
Tsukiyomi. That right there is probably new tome gear, but we'll clarify later. It's on the tank too. Other two don't have new gear. AF and Diamond gear,
The Popularis no longer
by the looks of
an
it.
obstacle. Now is the time to bring the Empire's might to bear.
That's Gaius. So Allegan stuff in the burn.
Reach out as I may, I could not sense in him the spark of life that is his soul.
To have the people I hold dear struck down before my eyes, and be powerless to help them, that I cannot bear.
Tenzin, 'tis I!
I really like the music here. I can't wait for Suzaku. Wasn't expecting that, the humanoid form.
Insolent child. You will learn your place.
So the prevailing theory is that's Midgard's armor. So those massive green beams of energy have a bit of relevance.
Ahead looms light, expunging all form and life. Twin dooms only you can forestall. Only you. Through wide the gates.
So we'll talk about that voice. That voice might be real important. Well, obviously it is, but it might be a certain somebody.
Ahead looms a calamity.
Prelude in Violet. I mean, wow. That, to start, that's a fucking amazing trailer. Fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, I've watched this trailer so many times already, but it's fantastic. They did an absolutely outstanding job with this one. They did a really, really good job of showing and not telling, which, in my opinion, is really, really important in trailers in general, just for anything. Because sometimes they've been a little heavy-handed with story elements, and it kind of, spoils big events that happen. Whereas I feel like here, they didn't really hit too hard on any of the major events that happened, but they just showed us enough snippets to get this sense of like foreboding and, you know, something really bad's about to happen. And the music is just phenomenal in this trailer. Everything comes together so well, I think, and I really, really enjoyed this trailer. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the first thing I mentioned, which was those giant green beams of energy. Now, some of you may remember all the way back during 1.0, the original trailer, the original cinematic trailer, had Midgardsormr, and when he crashed the Agrius, the Garlean flagship, into Silver Tear Lake, it erupted in this massive explosion. There was this giant beam of light, and the resulting explosion basically destroyed Mordona. Previously, it was this massive, you know, green, lush area, and then afterwards, it was this desolate wasteland. Now, that green beam seems awfully similar to the several geysers of energy we see on this desolate wasteland. And if you notice, there's a giant moon or other planet or whatever else in the background. I think we can deduce that this arena isn't necessarily on Eorzea or anything like that. Not that any of the Omega arenas have been, but more specifically, if this is Midgardsormr, we do know that Midgardsormr and Omega have a history, and they've fought before on different planets. And we also know that Omega has, or the results of that basically destroyed worlds. And so I think it's kind of safe to assume that this might be one of the worlds that they're fighting destroyed. And I think we'll find out more about that, obviously, through the storyline. But yeah, it definitely gives me a really big vibe of it being something, or rather the result of their fighting. And so Omega just kind of sticks us in there, or whatever else. You know, who knows? We'll figure that out. But I'm gonna put my chips on that. I'm betting it is a destroyed planet. So the next thing we'll talk about, and you know what? I feel like a goddamn fool sitting here right now. The next thing we're going to talk about is the gear that the people in the dungeon are wearing. I think I said that only the samurai and the tank were wearing the sets, but the black mage and the white mage are definitely wearing new sets too. I think we can safely assume that these are the new tombstone gear. And if you notice right here in this shot, it's easiest to see it in this shot, it has the very distinct like blue cerulean glow, and then on his shoulder it has that fiber mesh, and we've seen that in all previous Ironworks gear, the Garland Ironworks, you know, Sid's Ironworks, and I think it's safe to assume that the new Tombstone gear is going to be a new set of Ironworks armor, which I'm 100% okay with. I love the aesthetic of that. That'll kind of start to help set the mood for the expansion, since it's obviously going to involve Garlemald in a pretty significant manner, and that's sort of, you know, Magitech, and that's kind of that field. So it looks cool from what we've seen. Obviously, we have barely had a glimpse. The best shot we've got is of the samurai stuff, a little bit of the tank stuff. You can see the X here, it looks pretty cool. But I'm stoked, you know, I got nothing else to say on it. I like Ironworks armor, and we're getting another set, and it looks great. Speaking of the burn, let's talk a little bit about that. So I think we have a fairly solid grasp of what the pacing of the dungeon is going to be. It seems like we start out, you know, going through the burn a little bit, fight some monsters, fight a big scorpion, fight a big dragon, which I'm assuming is not a boss, probably just trash. And then later in the video, we find that same party, or in the same gear, in Allegan Ruins. And so I think it's pretty safe to assume that the latter half of the burn is going to take place under the sands in some Allegan Ruins. And that makes plenty of sense, you know. It would also maybe further establish why the Garleans might have a vested interest in the area. And it just kind of fits with the whole, you know, Garlemald theme. That's been their big thing, you know, repurposing Allegan technology, whatever else, you know, hoarding it. So I'm excited for that either way. It's honestly, it's been a little bit since we've seen new Allegan stuff. We had Fractal Hard Mode, but that's, you know, reused assets, and not that it wasn't fucking absolutely amazing, but or, you know, entirely new because they used a whole new area. But I don't know. I love Allegan stuff, so I'm stoked to see more Allegan things. So there is something I wanted to note here real quick. I'm going to assume it's entirely irrelevant. It's just, you know, reusing an asset, or maybe there is some relevance, but it's not the same. But Ejika, or whatever his name, Ejika, I don't remember. Right here, he definitely summons a lookalike of Zantetsuken. Whether they are just reusing an asset, or maybe there are other weapons that are, you know, other primal weapons, essentially, like Odin's sword that temper people, and maybe they were containing one inside the Charlian ruins there, or whatever, you know, the I forget what they're called. But yeah, that's just a small note. I noticed, I was like, that looks like Zantetsuken. It is Zantetsuken, just white instead of black. But we'll see. So I don't think that's something to go too far into. So the last thing I wanted to talk about here before we wrap up this video, because I don't want it to take forever, and I'm not going to sit down and go over every little thing, because I'm sure you guys don't want to be here forever either, is that disembodied voice we heard throughout the trailer. Now, before I dive into this, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Sibbolt here on Twitter. You can see, look, there's the tweet. Looks like they and their friends sort of deciphered this from what little we had. Some is more legible than others, but I think this is a pretty fair, you know, assumption of what might be being said, but obviously this isn't 100% confirmed. This is just what people piece together. But it says, that way saw our history changed. Ahead looms light, expunging all form in life. Twin dooms only you can forestall, only you. Throw wide the gates that we may pass. Ahead looms a calamity. Now, if we take into consideration everything that happened to the Warriors of Darkness and what happened with Arbert and to their world, which was a flood of light, which destroyed their world, expunged all form and life, it's pretty safe to assume that that is Arbert speaking. This is further reinforced, as I believe it was mentioned that in the French version of the trailer, the voice quite literally mentions a flood of light, which is exactly what happened to them. So there's a lot of evidence that points towards it. His voice actor also just, it sounds like Arbert. You know, it's a little hard to tell because of the, you know, the distortion on the voice, but pretty safe to assume that it's Arbert. And if that's the case, there's some, you know, fun speculation to be had with this, especially, you know, the line, throw wide the gates that we may pass. It sounds like the Warriors of Darkness maybe are coming back to help us out. Although it feels unfair to be calling them the Warriors of Darkness. They are also Warriors of Light. But, you know, maybe they're going to come back to help us out in some way, shape, or form. That'd be really cool. I loved Arbor and the Warriors of Darkness as characters. I thought their story arc was really well done. It was fantastic. And it'd be great to have them come help us out again. But it basically sounds like a cryptic message from him telling us that what befell his world is dangerously close to happening to ours, and he, you know, we got to stop it. And I think that's sort of going to be the build up to the expansion of Shadowbringers, in which maybe, you know, maybe the Ascians realize, like, hey, we can destroy this world by losing. And so what if they start to try and help us a little too much, and, you know, have thus tipped the scales? Maybe things were going a little too well for us. Who knows? I mean, there's so much speculation that could be going on here, which is really fun and exciting. I'm incredibly excited for the new patch, and I guess that's it. I don't really have too much else I want to go on right now. Like I said, if I just sat down and rambled, we'd be here forever, and I'm sure you guys don't want that. So I think we'll just put a pin in things there. We got some really fun and exciting stuff to look forward to. I hope you guys are as excited for patch 4.4 as I am, and I would love to hear some of your thoughts on the trailer. Maybe some things I missed, maybe some things I said wrong, or I'm speculating wrong. Please feel free to correct me in the comments. I love it when you tear me a new asshole. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And oh, I guess one last thing before I do go, I just wanted to take a second to apologize to anybody that, you know, really enjoys my content and is disappointed at the lack of it coming out. I don't want to get into it in this video, but there's been stuff going on, and it's been a little difficult to find the motivation to get some videos out. So I'm sorry for that. But here's hoping I can bring it back. So for the millionth time, right? All right. We'll cut it there. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and have a great day. And I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. Oh yeah, I almost forgot before I go. Alpha dies. Look at that. It looks like he dies. He probably dies. All right, goodbye.